Welcome to the Wealth Genius Podcast, brought to you by the Expand Wealth Real Estate Fund. Expand your wealth by investing in apartment buildings. Go to expandwealthfund.com to book your info session. The Wealth Genius Podcast, strategies for multifamily real estate investing, mindset, community, success. The Wealth Genius Podcast with your host, the godfather of real estate, Alfonso Cuadra, who has expansive experience in business and massive success as a real estate investor. The Wealth Genius Podcast. Let's dive into today's episode.
And we're rolling. Can you believe it? I love talking to you. We're friends for a long time, and I'm just sitting back and watching this journey that you're on.
I'm so curious. What do you see from your end of things?
What do I see? I see growth. I see, obviously, it only took, 7 years of knowing you till you told me that you were like a pastor at one point. And I'm like, what? You never told me that. But like, you have this innate, feeling that you want to teach, you want to give as much as possible. And I see that, I recognize that. And then I seen you going through this journey, this kind of like, rebirth of Adriana.
Literally, yes. That's a good word.
So let's start there.
Yeah.
Let's start right there at the rebirth.
Wow.
And what happened. What has happened? What's going on?
Oh, my God. That's, wow. That's a great place to start.
Yeah.
We all have identities that we have developed over time. Since we were kids, things happen to us in our lives, traumas, hardships, good things too.
Our parents.
Our parents.
I say this all the time. We mess up our kids.
And as a parent now,
Yeah,
it's
exactly,
terrifying. I feel
exactly.
like I see it happening. As it's happening, I'm like, it's happening right now. She's going to need a therapist. I'm going to, damn it. And we grow up, and as we develop and as we grow, we have all these identities that we've attached to and patterns of thoughts and behaviors, which we call our ego. And we have many egos within us. It's this identity that we pull out. I'm like, I'm this
I want to make sure you're
person.
saying ego, not eagle.
Not eagle. Yes, ego.
Because we want to be eagles.
We do want to be egos, yes. I'm saying like
Your
ego.
ego. Yeah.
Yeah. And the interesting thing with that is, as beautiful as the ego and as much as it serves us, it also holds us back. It holds us in this box of who we think we are and who we claim we are and how we show up to the world.
Do you agree with having an ego?
We cannot get rid of the ego. I mean, you can have experiences where you do temporarily, but it always comes back. Because if you don't have an ego, you also don't feel love. You don't feel passion. You can't get up on stage and get 1,000 people going without the ego. So you need the ego. The ego is not evil, but it shouldn't be running your life. That's where we get in trouble, is when the ego is up front, then that's all you can be, versus knowing who you are on the inside and your true highest self and allowing that version to now leverage the ego to do what you need to do here in the 3D world.
And so it's like managing your ego, and you've come to this rebirth, probably not the first time.
No, yeah.
Right? But this latest time, it's like you have arrived.
It feels like coming home.
Yeah. And so what was it? Something specific with the ego? Like, what is it?
Yeah, there was a lot of shedding of old identities. A big one for me was I grew up with a single mom, as you know, and she still is to this day. I was on the phone with her for an hour coming here. She still is very often in her survival mode. So I grew up with a lot of stress, a lot of chaos, a lot of feeling unsafe, feeling unheard, feeling unseen. And when you grow up like that, how can you even truly know who you are on the inside or appreciate who you are? So there was this critical voice inside my head that could not see who I truly was and could not appreciate it, that touched my sense of worthiness, my sense of like well-being, my sense of love for myself. Being able to arrive at a place where I can now deeply, truly love myself and see myself has changed everything in my life.
What does one have to do to get there?
We talked about rebirth. For you to be reborn, you have to die first.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a very fun experience, although it's so beautiful.
I was gonna ask, have you read the book The Power of Now?
I have.
Yeah. So is Eckhart Tolle? He's sitting on a bench, and he's depressed, and he's saying, "I'm making myself crazy," realizing there's two of him, right?
Literally,
Yeah.
yes.
And so, you can kill an entire part of you, like. I think I've done that in my life many times.
Yes.
Like and the visual of like I think that's like a very like traumatic like visual for a lot of people. But I think that the trauma of saying this part of me has to die,
Yes.
right? For you to now be truly be rebirthed.
So what I find interesting with that analogy is I do think men and women or masculine and feminine will see it differently because you're like the masculine in you wants to kill and hunt and you're done.
Yeah.
While the feminine in me wants to put to rest and like bury my old self.
Yeah, yeah.
Good night.
Say goodbye.
Stay there. Yeah. But different ways, but it's the
Sleeping
same.
pills.
Yes. Whatever you do, just stay.
Yeah.
I came back from a retreat back in May and I had the craziest experience at night. I think I told you about this actually. Came back from a retreat where I was doing a lot of the shedding of the old self. And one night while I was sleeping, I had this dream, but it was like, I'm talking about an experience kind of dream where I had this version of myself. I didn't know who he was, honestly. I couldn't recognize it. I thought maybe it was like a past life or something coming to me, and she wanted to like stay attached to me. And I'm like sleeping and moving in bed and trying to like sneak away from her and like get away from me, and she would not let go until I was like, okay, I'm just gonna lie here quietly, and she fell asleep right behind me. And I'm like, okay, at least she's not moving. I'm going to go to sleep. And the next day I talked to my coach and she said, that's your old version of you, your ego that's trying to hold on to who you are becoming today. Because it is a death of the ego. So, yeah.
So interesting. These, they're so visual, right?
It's
like
so
it's like
visual.
two separate people. And what? So you let go of the ego. You put that person to rest. And what do you do next? Like what are the next steps?
This is the most beautiful part of it all. Because what happens next is you meet your highest self. And you get to now truly experience the same you experienced the ego that's wanting to stay attached. Now you get to meet, and we call it alter egos. There's just a beautiful way to actually meet your highest self. And it's a new person. And it's kind of like meeting God a little bit. So I met my highest self, one of them, and her name is Everest. And I get to now experience who she is and who I'm becoming.
And Everest, like, it's like you created this version of yourself that you want to be. Is that what it is?
So the process was a little less logical than that, but sure, like
yeah, no, because I know that, and maybe it's sort of along these lines, like Beyonce, for example, she's got some alter ego that when she gets on stage, she's like embodies this person that eventually that person and Beyonce are one. I can't remember the name.
Sasha, right? Sasha Fierce?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that.
Something like that. And then you embody the essence of that person of who you, like this, like your alter ego, you were saying, right? And I don't think people spend enough time doing that.
No.
Because they, I know that in my culture, it's not, you're not supposed to show off, or, you know what I mean? Like, like having an alter, being trying to like betray God, for example.
Yeah.
It's not something that is kind of looked upon as a positive, you know. I know that growing up, my mom always told me, "Don't show off, don't do this, don't do that." But a lot of these things are cultural, you know.
They are, and the interesting thing is like, and Beyonce is a really clear example where she is like becoming this character where she is like showing off, for lack of a better word. She's putting a show.
Yeah.
Not every highest self will lead you to that. Your highest self can lead you to have a much better marriage, and I'm an example of that. Your highest self can lead you to being a much better parent. Your higher self can lead you to making way more money and making way more impact with your work. It's just a really holier, wholesome, better, more loving, more depth version of you.
And what's the process of designing this higher self?
I
Or
love
do you have
this
to design, or
process.
it's just something that shows up?
Yeah, so we do use like a meditative state, like almost a hypnotic state, as one of the ways that you can use to uncover it. It comes to you as opposed to you trying to write it down, all the characteristics comes from within you, your subconscious, because you know who you truly are on the inside. And that's what allows you to uncover. When you put your brain waves into a hypnotic state, you allow your conscious mind, your logical brain, the one that's always thinking, making decisions, pros and cons lists, to rest, so that you allow your subconscious to now speak. For sometimes the first time in a long time for a lot of people, and you're asking it questions under that hypnotic state, and you ask questions like, think of a memory from your past, present, or future where you show up at your highest, best self. And then now describe that memory to me. And you're starting to describe where you are, what is happening, who are you? And then I will get to ask you, what is that version of yourself? What is his name? And it's so interesting how the name just 99% of the time just comes to you. I just knew the name. I didn't make it up. I didn't think about it. I didn't research it. It just came to me.
I feel that when I'm on stage, I feel that. I feel that it's not even me. You know, like I'm just like I'm operating at my highest self, and you know, when life is happening, I forget about that. Like I forget about that feeling. But there's something about, and you know, maybe singers go through this, or people that like comedians, or anybody that has to share energy with a group of people, you know, and the energy is all focused on you. And there's something about that experience for me that is like, it's so present. I could be so present. And that is my highest self, where when I'm off stage, I'm like, who is that? Like, it's almost like things that nothing, it's like I'm bulletproof. Anything can happen, right? Anybody can ask me any question. I'm like, I feel at my most confident at the moment where I should be not as confident, where people don't have the confidence. But I feel that I feel more, I don't feel as confident when I'm off stage. I don't know if it's like a weird thing to describe, but you know, often I'm like, how do I sustain that feeling for like everyday life? You know what I mean? Is that a weird thing to describe?
I mean, so many thoughts. One is that's probably the reason why you love being on stage, because you're feeling so your best, highest self. When you are on stage, you have a lot of different types of hormones being released in your body too. So you are in a flow state. That's why you can stay so present. Nothing else is crossing your mind. You're not worrying about anything else. You're fully present with who you are, which is such a beautiful state. And your body enters into the flow state. There's nothing else outside of you and that energy exchange that you're experiencing. Can you bring that to your daily life? You can. There's a process that we use to ultimately encode who you are, your best, highest self, in your cells, in your DNA.
Hold on. So now I want to know what this code is.
I know.
Like what do I have to do to sustain that feeling?
Yeah. So again, going back to putting your brain in a state of light hypnotism, we can encode anything that you really want. But now we're encoding that memory, that feeling, that version into your subconscious and into the cells of your body. This is something that Joe Dispenza does that allows people to achieve healing from like things like cancer and other really serious, diseases. But you can also use for something like this, for you to walk into your life every day feeling so confident, so present in a flow state. And not that you won't have ups and downs, but a version of yourself becomes more and more and more of who you are, and that two people could continuously become the one, and it's the one highest self.
Beautiful. For you specifically, when are you your highest self?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm my highest self when I'm in love.
I mean, I remember I'm addicted to the firsts, of things,
Okay.
like
Like
the
what?
first kiss, the first time you hold hands.
Uh,
When you first start to go out with someone,
Yes.
and it's like you have like you're nervous, and then it's like I'm gonna kiss them or whatever. So for me, the toughest thing was committing myself to one person, because you can't necessarily recreate that.
That's right. That
But
first.
yeah,
right?
but you can't go around being first with everybody. You know what I mean?
I mean, you could, but
Yeah, but then it's not. It wouldn't be kosher. So how do you maintain that level of intensity and energy where you could be at your highest self with with a significant other? You said love. I assumed a significant other, but I maybe you mean it in a very different way. But how do you sustain that with one person?
yeah. Okay, so I'll answer that question and I'll circle back. What I realized and learned was my capacity to be in love and love my partner is completely correlated to the capacity of loving myself. And this is going back to my rebirth in loving myself. The more I have leaned in to loving who I am for all of me and all the things and all the parts and the shadows and the ugly and the good and the bad, the more my love capacity went. And I have this like the increase, the depth, the connection, the heart to heart, the harmony between us increased so significantly. And we are in such a place of love now that I haven't experienced in my marriage. We've been married for, it's going to be 16 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And, we went through, death cycle there too in our marriage. And I can't even believe we were lying in bed last night. And I'm like, how is this even possible? How are we here? We started 2024 in such a different place. And we're entering 2025 so completely in love and in harmony that I'm like, everybody needs to experience this and what it feels like. That's how.
And that's your highest self. When you are loving yourself so much that it moves other people to love you.
How can they not? And then you love every moment of your life. If you're walking with yourself and you're in love and you're having a great time and you enjoy your company, it doesn't matter where you go. Not only are you having a great time because you're with you, everybody else around you is having a great time too, because you're like, oh my gosh, who is this person? Like, whoa, holy crap. Yeah. That's like a point of attraction. And I did mean love beyond romantic. I meant with my kids. I've been able to experience new depths of love with them and my mom and my work and my day-to-day and my meditation time and spending time with you and expand. And it's just reciprocal. And it's just, I feel like that's when I'm in my highest self.
And that's why I said you've been rebirthed.
Literally.
Not that you've always not that you haven't been like optimistic or happy or because I've always loved you. We're dear friends, but I've had the pleasure of watching you from the very beginning. From the moments when we used to be on the road way back when, to seeing the person that that's sitting in front of me now. You know, you are the same person, but you're really not. You know, and we really must. You know, we have to mourn for the old Adriana.
Lots of love to her. Lots and lots of love.
That's resting in peace. And then we have this new, I would say, loving and powerful person that you've become. And what is the tips that you would offer anybody that's listening? Because maybe to some people this sounds like, okay, that's good for you. You know what I mean? That you found love, like, yeah, whoop-de-doo. And maybe they say, oh, Alfonso, yeah, that's great. Like, not everybody's going to be able to stand on stage, you know. What would you say to someone? What are things that they can do right now to be at their highest self?
Yeah. Start leaning into inside of yourself. We tend to seek blame and a savior outside of us. Who is here to save me? Who is here to blame for all the things that are going wrong in my life?
The government.
Oh my God. I was just on a call and it was like the government and the banks and the whole system. I'm like, oh my, okay. No. You know? So like that's our, you know, and that's the ego right there, because the ego has that identity and it points to everybody else, and we get into a victim, like, you know, pattern of belief and behaviors. Turn your eyes inward. Like, it's very little that happens to you it happens, but very little that happens to you has anything to do with anything outside of you. You have full control, or quite a bit of control of what your reality looks like. And start leaning in, especially where we live with how blessed we are. Start leaning inside as opposed to outside. Start spending time with yourself. How many of us can sit still in silence with ourselves?
That would be my Achilles heel, right?
Tell me.
Well, I just don't do that. I need someone around always. I cannot be by myself. And
can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
You can diagnose me right now. I got issues. Yeah, okay.
We all do. That's the story you're telling yourself. See, that's the ego story of like,
yeah,
I'm like
true.
this. I'm an identity. I cannot be alone. I love people. I need somebody. Helene, you're going to the bathroom. Like, come with me.
Yeah.
Like, that's a story, right? And you probably repeated so many times to yourself and to others that you truly believe that that's the case. Yeah.
I definitely agree. And thank you for pointing it out. You know, I am creating that story, you know. Having said that, I will try. Well, you know what? I'm by myself in the bathroom.
No phones.
Yeah. Oh, shoot.
No phones. I mean, like, completely just sit with yourself. Start like 2 minutes.
Okay, I will do this. I want to get better at this.
Yeah.
I want to get better at this.
Here's
Have you always done that?
Always no.
So
I was just like everybody. I mean, and mind you, I'm not saying I'm far from being perfect. I mean, so much better now. Here's what I will tell you that's gonna happen. Like when you sit.
So what do you do? Like where do you sit? Like in a in the living room?
Yeah. So in my case, and I mean, I have 2 kids and a husband. Everybody's home all the time. I don't have as much alone time as I'd like to. I use the car a lot. I don't have an option. I can't be on my phone. I'm driving. So that's a good way to be present when you're driving. But yeah, I sit in my living room. You can get comfortable. You can have a blanket. You can get a coffee or something. But the goal is no TV, no phone. Like you're with you. You could have a journal. Journal is really helpful because sometimes it feels like equivalent to speaking to somebody. You're speaking to yourself, really. And what's going to happen, even when you start for 2 minutes and you add a little bit more, you're going to start getting reacquainted with who you are and your truest versions of yourself. Your fears, your joys, a conversation that's you with you. And that's really when the beauty of like death and rebirth starts. And I'm excited for that.
I will report back. And I love our conversations. And thank you for that. and we're gonna wrap things up. What's your quote? What's your favorite quote?
Ooh, what's my favorite quotes? I don't know that I can come up with one, I guess.
Well, maybe it's a Adriana quote. What do you live by?
I guess since we're in the theme of love, I'm going to go there, like lean into love every day. Life is so beautiful when you do that.
There you go. Alfonso loves you, and we'll see you at the
top.
Woo! We made that announcement. Someone must have caught it. Someone must have been listening. Where's the next expand? 1, 2, 3, yeah!
Thanks for listening to the Wealth Genius Podcast, presented in part by Expand Investor Conference, this May 16th to 18th in Edmonton, Alberta. Get your tickets now at wealthgenius.ai/expand, and we'll see you at the top.